My dad was sick, real sick, and my family, dirt poor. So I packed up what little I had and left for the city, holding on to one hope, to make them proud somehow. I thought I'd caught a break when a woman offered to help me. Said she'd give me a fresh start. But what I didn't know back then was that she was part of something dark, real dark. She was mixed up in trafficking girls like me, young, desperate, easy to fool. And when I refused to sell my body like she wanted, she kicked me out. Just like that. No roof, no food, no one. I was lost, wandering the streets, barely surviving. I started hawking bottled water just to eat, just to stay alive. Then, one day, way out in the bush, I found a man, lying there, bleeding, barely breathing. Looked like he'd been shot and left to die by some gunman. I didn't know it then, but that man, he was a billionaire. And saving his life? That would flip my world upside down. This story you're about to hear, it's not just powerful, it's personal. It's raw, emotional, and packed with lessons I learned the hard way. So if you've got a minute, lean in. You don't want to miss this. Go ahead, grab your popcorn or whatever makes you comfy. And hey, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Tap the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. And if this story touches your heart, even just a little, give it a thumbs up. It means more than you know. Now let me take you back to the very beginning. The sun hadn't even peeked over the horizon, but there I was, already on the construction site. My hands were caked in cement, my back soaked in sweat. I was the only woman on that crew. Just me and a swarm of men swinging hammers. And I outworked every single one of them. My headscarf was tied tight, my palms were blistered, and my jeans were ripped at the knees. But none of that mattered. I wasn't working for pride. I was working to keep my father alive. I was only 22, but I felt twice that. Life had aged me early. My father, Panamdi, once a proud teacher with a heart full of wisdom, was now just a shadow of himself. He laid there, day in and day out, in our tiny mud house in Aji River, Enugu State. Some strange sickness hit him 2 years back, and it never let go. He'd wasted away since then, his body thin, his voice barely above a whisper. Mama, mama. Veronica never left his side. She fed him, washed him, prayed over him, day and night, just praying for some kind of miracle. But that miracle never came. So I became the miracle. I dropped out of school, picked up a shovel, and joined a crew of builders. I became the answer to my own prayers. While other girls my age were out chasing weddings or snapping selfies for the gram, I was knee-deep in sand and cement, lifting blocks heavier than any dream I dared to hold on to. Fine girl like this day mix mud. One of the guys laughed, pointing at me like I was some strange creature. No be man she be oh, another one shouted. Her strength past my own. They laughed, loud and careless, but I didn't even flinch. Let him talk. Every drop of sweat that rolled down my face was for Papa. Every sore, every blister, every ripped nail, it was all a sacrifice. And every single naira I made went straight to keeping my father fed and medicated. That afternoon, the sun was ruthless, blazing hot, baking the red earth beneath my feet like an oven. I was mid-lift, dragging a bucket of cement when I heard the screech of tires. A sleek black SUV pulled up right beside the site, tires throwing up dust in every direction. All heads turned. Out stepped a woman dressed in white lace that shimmered. In the light, gold jewelry clinked with every step she took. Her sunglasses screamed big city money, Lagos money. Her perfume followed her like a second shadow, sweet but sharp. The workers around me mumbled, Madam P. I looked up, still holding tight to that heavy bucket, arms trembling. She spotted me, tilted her head like she was trying to make sense of what she was seeing. Wait, is that a girl? She asked, already walking closer. Her heels sank slightly into the sand, but she didn't stop. You, she pointed. What's your name? I dropped the bucket and wiped the sweat from my forehead with the bottom of my shirt. Veronica, ma. She squinted at me behind her fancy shades. You're a woman, and you do this kind of work? Yes, ma, I said, holding my ground. She stared at me, long and hard. Then she smiled, slow and calculating. You're strong. I like that. And you're beautiful, even covered in all that cement. I felt my cheeks burn. Couldn't help but smile a little. Thank you, ma. She leaned in a bit, lowering her voice like she was about to offer me a secret. What would you say if I told you I could change your life? I blinked. My heart skipped. Change my life. Ma, I live in Lagos, she said, tossing her braided ponytail over one shoulder. I run real businesses. I help girls like you. Come with me. I'll give you a job 10 times better than this. No more carrying blocks. No more blistered hands. My fingers tightened around the edge of the bucket, still trembling, unsure. Everything in me wanted to believe her, but something in her smile made my stomach twist that I had never heard anyone say words like that to me before. You really mean it? I asked, almost in a whisper. Madam P gave a small nod, her voice smooth and confident. I see something in you. Real potential. That night, I couldn't sit still. My whole body buzzed with excitement. As soon as work ended, I ran home like a child chasing sunlight. My face must have been glowing, because even before I stepped inside, I could hear Mama humming as she fed Papa his pap. Mama, Papa. I burst through the door, barely able to breathe from the excitement. Madam P says she's taking me to Lagos. Mama dropped the spoon right into the bowl. Lagos. She said she'll get me a better job. I explained, breathless. More money. No more carrying blocks. She said she sees something in me. Papa let out a rough cough and tried to sit up. His voice came out like a shadow. Veronica, be careful. She's from our village. Papa, I said quickly. You know her, Madam P. She helps people. I have to try. For you, for Mama. That night, none of us slept. Mama Veronica just sat on the floor, rocking slightly, her hands gripping her wrapper, tears falling quietly down her cheeks. I was her only child, her backbone, and I was about to leave her behind for a city she didn't trust. Papa called me over and gently placed his shaky hand on my head. My daughter, he said softly, may you never face shame. May Lagos treat you kindly, and may you return stronger, greater, and more blessed than when you left. I bit my lip, holding back the tears stinging my eyes. I'll make you both proud, I whispered. Morning came too fast. The whole compound had gathered, standing outside like it was a farewell ceremony. When Madam P's SUV rolled up, everyone stared that I hugged Papa tight, whispering, I'll come back with the money for your treatment. Mama clung to me, sobbing into my shoulder. Don't let Lagos change your heart, she said through broken breaths that I nodded and climbed into the car. As we drove off, I looked back through the rear window. My parents grew smaller with each second, like they were being swallowed by the distance. What I didn't know was that Lagos wasn't waiting with open arms. It was sharpening its claws. The drive was long and the heat inside the car made the windows blur, but I barely noticed. My eyes were stuck to the road like they could memorize every building, every tree. I had never left Enugu state before. Every billboard, every new town felt like a whole other universe opening up just for me. Madam P didn't say much. She was glued to her phone, snapping at people. No, I said transfer it now. I don't do excuses. Her voice was all business, sharp, cold, powerful that I sat next to her quietly, trying to shrink into the seat, my little bag of clothes tucked beneath my feet. And then we crossed into Lagos. I swear, it felt like a dream. The buildings were so tall, they looked like they could poke holes in the sky. Cars rushed by like they had no brakes. People ran across roads, yelling, laughing, chasing life. Nothing about it looked like Aji River. My heart felt light. Maybe this was the beginning of something good. Eventually, we turned into a gated estate in Lekki. It looked like paradise, tall electric gates, bright pavements, trimmed grass that looked too perfect to be real. We pulled up to a stunning white duplex. Ivory walls, flower beds so perfect they could have been painted, and a driveway that glistened in the sun. The driver opened the door, and I stepped out slowly, my little bag clutched tight to my side. Everything in me whispered, "This is it, Veronica. Your new life starts here. Welcome to your new life," Madam P said with a warm smile. Her voice smooth like honey but lined with something I couldn't quite place. The moment I stepped inside that house, I felt like I had walked into a palace. The floor was polished marble, so shiny it reflected the chandelier above like a lake. The sofas were so soft, I felt like if I sat, I'd never get back up. I just stood there, wide-eyed, scared to even breathe too hard, let alone touch anything. "You'll be staying here with me for now," she said, handing me a folded towel. "Go freshen up. There's food in the fridge." I just nodded. That night felt like something out of a dream. I took a hot shower for the first time in my life. Hot water from the wall. Then I sat down and ate rice and big, juicy pieces of chicken. Not the dry kind we had in the village, but thick, seasoned legs that filled my stomach and heart. And when I lay down to sleep, it wasn't on a mat. It was a real mattress. Clean sheets. No mosquitoes buzzing around my ears. No bucket of water. Next to my bed, I pulled the blanket over me and cried into the pillow, not from pain, but from hope. The next morning, I woke up early, dressed neat, sat in the living room waiting for my first day at work. But Madam P just smiled and waved her hand. "Relax," she said. "You've been working your whole life. Let Lagos pamper you for a bit." I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded and said, "Yes, Ma." One day passed, then two, then a whole week. Still no job. Every day I waited. I cleaned a bit, watched TV, scrolled through the internet, even tried reading old magazines. But the longer I waited, the heavier my chest felt. Every day without work was another day Papa's medicine wasn't being bought. Finally, one evening, I gathered the courage to ask, "Ma, please, when will I start the job you promised?" She was lounging on the couch, a glass of red wine in her hand. She didn't even look at me. "Tonight," she said casually. "Tonight?" I repeated, blinking yes. "Your first assignment is tonight. Be ready." "Thank you, Ma." I bowed slightly, feeling relief wash over me. I rushed to the room and pulled out the only decent dress I had. I thought maybe I'd be working as a receptionist at a hotel, or maybe as a cleaner, security guard, even. It didn't matter. I just wanted to work at 8 p.m. sharp. Madam P came to my door. She walked in holding a fancy shopping bag. "Wear this," she said, dropping it on the bed. That I opened the bag, and my heart dropped into my stomach. Inside was a tiny red dress. It barely had any fabric, thin straps, tied around the hips, short. As I looked up, confused. "Ma, I don't understand." Her smile faded. Her voice turned sharp. "You're going out with a guest. He paid for you." My whole body went cold. "Paid for me?" I whispered. "Yes. He likes Fresh Village girls," she said flatly. "Don't act stupid. You're not here to clean." This is Lagos. My lips trembled. But I thought you were giving me a real job. You said. She slammed her glass down. Wine splashed. Her voice cut like a knife. This is the job. You'll make 10 times your block-laying salary in one night. Just smile. Be sweet. I shook my head. My voice came out small, but firm. I can't. I'm not a prostitute. Her face twisted into a scowl. Then get out. What? Get out of my house. Take your bag and leave. I stood there, frozen. I had no money. No place to go. No idea where I even was. Out. She screamed, rising to her feet. You think I fed you for free? You think I run a charity? Get out before I call security. I grabbed my nylon bag, my hands shaking so hard I could barely zip it. My slippers slapped against the tiled floor as I stumbled to the door. She didn't even look at me again. The gate slammed shut behind me like a final sentence that I stood there on the street. Just me, a cracked phone with no SIM card, a worn-out bag, and a heart full of fear. The street was dark. The air smelled different. The world looked colder. The mansion behind me glowed with light, but the city ahead looked like it wanted to eat me alive. Just hours ago, I had hope. Now, I was alone. Lagos didn't care if I made it or not, that I had no clue where I was. Just hours earlier, I was curled up on a soft couch, watching Netflix in an air-conditioned room, eating fried rice like I had finally made it. Now, I was barefoot, walking through the cold, unfamiliar night streets of Lagos. I was lost, scared, and humiliated. The dress I had on barely covered my thighs, and my braids were coming undone. My voice trembled with every breath. God, what did I do to deserve this? I whispered into the night. All I could think about was Papa, still sick, still waiting, and Mama, probably praying for me at that exact moment, thinking her daughter was safe and sleeping under a real roof. If only they knew. I was just another lost soul in a city that didn't even know my name. I kept walking, no idea where I was going. Just walking. At one point, a security man standing outside a gated estate hissed at me. Where you day go like that, ABI? You one of those aloes way day waka for night. I didn't even answer. I just kept moving, holding myself tight like. My arms were the only thing keeping me from falling apart. The streets of Lagos after dark, they ain't made for girls like me. Cars slowed down beside me. Windows rolled down. Men inside offered rides, some with fake concern, others with lust in their eyes. One guy tailed me for blocks, whispering from his car, "You fine past those Instagram girls. Come make I treat you like queen." I ran. Eventually, I found a small bus stop with a bench and curled up there, praying no one would bother me. But peace didn't last. Around midnight, a bunch of drunk boys showed up, loud, stinking of cheap liquor. "Weddin' this one day do here." One of them slurred, another laughed. "Maybe she go follow us tonight." I didn't wait to find out. I took off again, my heart pounding like a drum. Asterisk by 2 a.m., I had nothing left in me. I crouched beside a locked-up kiosk, used my bag as a pillow, and wrapped my wrapper around me like it could shield me from everything. The ground was hard and freezing. Mosquitoes tore at my legs like I owed them something. My stomach twisted with hunger. My back throbbed. Tears ran down my cheeks, but I wiped them away fast. "I won't cry," I whispered. "I'm not weak." But deep inside, I was shattered. As dawn broke and people started cleaning the streets, I stood up slowly. I shook the dust off my wrapper, walked to a leaking pipe nearby, and splashed water on my face. The woman selling Accra from a roadside stand glanced at me. Her eyes said everything, but she didn't say a word. I was just another stray in this city full of shadows. That I had no money. Nothing but the echo of Madame P's voice still in my ears. Get out before I call security. That woman, she tricked me, pulled me from my village with promises of a good life, only to try and sell me to some stranger like I was nothing more than an object. The memory made my chest burn with fury. That morning, I made up my mind. I would rather die starving than let any man buy me. So I got to work. I knocked on every shop door I could find, one after the other. Please, ma, I'm looking for a job. I can clean. I can sweep. Anything. I begged. Most folks looked through me like I was invisible. Some men smiled too long, told me to come back later. One even said, make sure you wear a short skirt next time, and winked. One boutique owner seemed polite at first, told me to come inside, wait for a moment. But then he locked the door and leaned in close. I fit give you 20,000 today, he whispered. Just one night with me. I ran out before he could finish the sentence. By the time evening came, my feet were swollen, my throat dry, and my belly empty. I sat down under a bridge, surrounded by beggars and street boys. Some were smoking. One girl nearby was feeding a baby from her breast. And me? I was just trying not to cry again. One of the girls was laughing wildly to herself, like she'd lost all sense of the world. I curled up in a dark corner, clutching my wrapper tight as cover, doing my best to ignore the rats that skittered nearby. Through clenched teeth, I whispered to myself, I won't die here. I will survive this. I have to make Papa proud. I will. That night, surrounded by filth, fear, and complete loneliness, I made a promise to myself. No matter how long it took, no matter how hard the journey, I was going to rise. But one thing was clear. I would never sell my body to get there. By the fourth morning of sleeping under that bridge, I stopped wishing for someone to show up and save me. I learned the hard truth. Hope wasn't free. It was something only the lucky could afford. And I wasn't feeling very lucky anymore. My body had grown thinner. My cheeks had lost their softness. The glow in my skin was replaced with a dull, dry layer of dust, sunburned by day, wind-battered by night. But my spirit? That part was still intact, bruised, but not broken. That morning, I saw a small crowd forming near a kiosk. A bunch of young hawkers, mostly girls, were gathering there with buckets full of chilled sachet water, what everyone called pure water. They lifted those heavy bowls onto their heads like it was nothing, weaving through the cars shouting, "Water for 50 naira! Cold water here!" One girl with sharp eyes and quicker words, her name was Chinwe, noticed me just standing there. They look. You want sell or beg? She asked, eyeing me up and down. I want to sell, I said quietly, barely meeting her gaze. She folded her arms. You get money to buy the water? I shook my head. She hissed and turned. Then go find another way to survive. Before I could walk away, an older woman roasting plantain nearby spoke up. Give her one bucket, make she try. If she no bring money back, curse go follow her. Chinwe rolled her eyes, but eventually handed me a small bowl loaded with cold sachets. If you sell finish, bring back 800 naira. Whatever's left, nah, your own, she warned. You spill my water, you go see Walla. I nodded and slowly lifted the basin onto my head. The first time I stepped into traffic with that bucket, my hands were shaking. Horns blasted. Bus drivers shouted. Conductors swore at everyone like it was their job. Some man laughed after I politely declined a free ride. Pride go kill you, he muttered and walked off. But I wasn't being proud. I was just holding on to what little dignity I had left. Some nights, police would storm the place, yelling, "Clear out. You want turn bridge to bedroom." We'd all scatter, clutching wrappers and buckets, hiding behind food stalls and kiosks on rainy nights. The sky would break open and soak everything I owned. I'd crawl under some abandoned table, hugging my knees to my chest, whispering prayers. Into the storm, still, I hawked water in the day. And no matter how bad it got, I refused to sell myself at night. Some girls mocked me for it. "You day-form saint," they sneered. "Whose saintness helped for Lagos?" I stayed silent. But inside, I held tight to that promise I'd made under the stars. It was the only thing keeping me breathing, one night, after dragging my tired body. Through another long day, I sat beneath the bridge, staring at the sky. The stars were barely visible through the city haze. I whispered into the darkness, "God, I know you see me. Please, don't forget me. Don't let this be the end of my story." I had no idea how close my prayer was to being answered, because the very next day, while searching for a quiet place to relieve myself behind the highway, my life changed forever. It was hot. One of those dry, suffocating afternoons when the sun feels like it's sitting right on your skin. Lagos traffic had choked up the expressway. Cars bumper to bumper for miles. I was weaving through the jam, shouting, "Pure water, cold water, 50 naira." My throat felt like sandpaper. My shoulders ached from the weight of the bucket. I hadn't eaten all day. And then, out of nowhere, a sudden cramp hit my stomach. I needed to use the bathroom, badly. But there were no restrooms around. And even if there were, I didn't have a kobo to my name. Panicked, I looked around until I remembered a small, overgrown patch behind the expressway. It was mostly weeds and garbage, forgotten land. I clutched my bucket and made my way through the tall grass. I found a spot behind a thick bush and crouched quickly, trying to finish before anyone spotted me. The air was heavy with the smell of wet dirt and trash. And then, I heard a voice. Weak, strained, almost like a breath. "Help, please. Somebody help me." I froze. Slowly, I turned toward the sound. My heart was hammering in my chest. "Please don't let me die." The voice whispered again. Fear gripped me. But so did something else, curiosity. I started moving toward the sound, every step crunching twigs and rustling leaves. My heart thudded, louder with every step. And then, I saw him. Lying there behind a pile of broken tires was a man. His suit torn, his white shirt soaked in blood. His hands were tied behind his back, his legs bound tight. His face, it was a mess, swollen, bruised, and a deep gash above his brow oozed thick blood. I froze. His lips trembled, and his chest rose and fell like each breath was a war. I gasped and dropped my bucket. When his eyes fluttered open and met mine, he whispered so faint I almost didn't hear, "Please, don't let me die." Then he passed out. I stood there, heart racing, mind spinning. Was this a setup? A trap? Who was he? But then something inside me, something fierce, pushed past all. That fear, this man was dying. And I couldn't walk away. Without thinking, I bent down and tried to lift him. He was heavy, twice my size, but somehow I managed. I dragged him through the weeds, inch by inch, until we reached the roadside. Cars kept speeding past like we were invisible. I stepped into the middle of traffic, waving both hands. "Please, somebody help us." Most drivers honked and swerved. Some stared. None stopped. Until finally, an old, dusty cab slammed on the brakes. The driver yelled, "Wouldn't day happen here now? Please, sir. He's dying. Take us to the nearest hospital." He looked at the man slumped beside me. "You go fit pay. I'll pay. I swear. Just go." We loaded him into the back seat together, and I climbed in, holding his hand the whole ride. "Please don't die," I whispered. "Just hold on." When we reached the hospital gate, the driver demanded 1,500 naira. I checked my bag. 1,100. Everything I had from that day's pure water sails. Please. It's all I have. He hissed but took it and drove off. Inside the emergency ward, I shouted for help. Is he your relative? A nurse asked without even looking up. No, but he's dying. Where's the deposit? I don't have anything left. No deposit, no treatment. She snapped. Tears welled in my eyes. Please. He was tied up in the bush. He'll die if you wait. I dropped to my knees, begging, pleading. Finally, a doctor came rushing over. He checked the man's pulse and shouted, "Stabilize him now." But sir, the nurse said, "We need blood." Oh, positive. Our bank is empty. Without a thought, I blurted, "Take mine." Everyone paused. You sure? The doctor asked. Yes. Please. They strapped me down, inserted the needle, and began draining blood from my already starving body. I was dizzy almost immediately. My limbs went numb. My vision faded at the edges, but I didn't care. If this is why I came to Lagos, I whispered, then so be it. An hour later, I was slumped on a bench, trying to stay upright. Then everything went black. That my body hit the floor with a soft thud that I heard someone shout. The girl who brought him in. She fainted. Get her glucose, the doctor barked. She hasn't eaten in days. And as my world slipped into silence, inside the ER, the man I saved began to move. One moment I was just sitting on that bench, weak, dizzy, watching the world around me twist into lights and spinning walls. The next, everything went black. Madam, nurse, madam, I heard someone shout as I hit the cold hospital floor. Feet scrambled around me. A nurse rushed to my side. She's burning up. No blood pressure. Pulse is weak. Another voice, firm, loud, called out. She just donated blood. Get her on a gurney. For now, I couldn't see anything, but I felt hands lift me. My body was limp, my skin freezing, lips dry. I heard machines beeping and voices echoing like I was underwater. Who is she? One nurse asked. The girl who brought in the man from the bush, another replied. She begged us to save him, gave her last cash, and even donated her blood. She's got no ID, no phone, no family. They didn't know me. No one did, but they were wrong that I was somebody. Just invisible. While I lay unconscious in that hospital ward, the man I saved, the one I dragged through weeds and garbage and blood, opened his eyes, slowly. His heartbeat was steady now, the ECG beeped softly beside him. He blinked against the harsh lights above, his throat dry like dust. Water, he rasped. A nurse leaned in. Sir, you're in a hospital. You're safe. He looked around, confused. What happened? You were found tied and bleeding in the bush. You've been unconscious for 4 hours. The man's brows furrowed. Who found me? A girl. She brought you in. She paid the driver. She gave her blood. He struggled to sit. Take me to her. Sir, please. You need to rest. I said take me, he growled, his voice, though weak, held weight. Command. Power. The nurse hesitated, then nodded. With trembling legs and in force swaying from his wrist, the man walked slowly to the next ward. The door creaked open. There I was, lying in the hospital bed like a ghost of myself. My wrapper was still stained from the bush. My arms strapped to and fro. My face pale. My body so thin it looked like I could vanish into the mattress. That he stood there in silence. Then he stepped forward, closer, painfully, slowly. You saved me, he whispered. My eyes fluttered open. Blurry, weak, but I saw him. You're awake, I murmured. I am, he said, voice cracking. Because of you. I tried to sit up, but he stopped me. Don't. You're too weak. I thought you were gonna die. I said softly. He looked away. I almost did. But you dragged me from that bush. You called a taxi. You begged. Doctors. You gave me your blood. I looked down. I couldn't leave you there. Why? He asked, almost in a whisper. Tears filled my eyes. Because even if nobody sees me, I still have a heart. That sentence that it shook him. I could see it in his face. This man, who probably owned buildings and businesses and God knows what, looked at me like he was seeing a miracle. I promise you, he said, his voice trembling, your life will never be the same again. Just then, the door burst open. A man in a sharp black suit rushed in, panting, Sir, thank God we found you. The man beside me lifted a hand. Later, Isaac. Isaac froze at the door, his eyes flicking to me. Confused, the man turned back to me. What's your name? Veronica. From Enugu. He extended his hand. Veronica. I'm Chief Madu, chairman of Madu Group. I blinked. Thought I heard wrong, but I hadn't. Chief Madu. Even in the slums, I'd heard of him. The tech billionaire. The quiet one. The mystery man. And now he sat beside me, still in torn clothes, bleeding, but looking at me with something no one had shown me in months. Gratitude. Real. Honest. Gratitude. You don't know what you've done for me, Chief Madu said, his voice husky but steady. Veronica looked down at her fingers, her voice barely above a whisper. I only did what I hoped someone would do for my father, if he was ever in that condition. Chief Madu nodded slowly. Then he turned toward the man still standing silently in the doorway. Isaac. Settle everything. All the bills. Yes, sir. Isaac hurried off without another word. Behind the hospital curtain, soft whispers rose like wind through leaves. That's Chief Madu. The real one. She saved him? That girl. Oh my God. Chief Madu looked at her again. You still look weak. You need food. Real food. Veronica smiled faintly. I'll be fine. No. You won't just be fine. Veronica, you gave me your blood. The least I can do is give you a new life. She blinked. His words sat in the room like thunder. Was this still real? Or some strange, beautiful dream shaped by hunger and exhaustion? By evening, Isaac returned with a nurse pushing a food tray, fresh fruit juice, jollof rice, fried plantain, grilled fish, and warm water. Veronica stared at it like she was staring at gold. Chief Madu smiled gently. Eat. Please. She didn't hesitate. With every bite, the hunger began to loosen its grip. And for the first time in weeks, she felt human again. Her body sank deeper into the bed as the drip flowed into her veins. But her heart still held one burning question. How did you end up like that, sir? Chief Madu exhaled slowly. I was kidnapped. Veronica gasped. It was a planned operation. My convoy was intercepted. My driver gone. I was blindfolded, taken somewhere. For days, they beat me. Demanded 50 million naira. Did you pay? She asked softly. I didn't. Isaac did. We gave them the money, but he paused, jaw tight. They decided to kill me anyway. Said I was a risk. They drugged me, tied me up, dumped me in the bush to die. Veronica's eyes widened. They left you like that? They thought I wouldn't survive. Honestly, I didn't think I would either until you came. She was silent for a long moment. Then she whispered, You were meant to live, sir. God still has work for you to do. He looked at her, this thin, tired girl with eyes deeper than time. And maybe you're part of that work. She shifted awkwardly on the bed, unsure how to respond. A few moments later, a small team of private security men arrived. Chief Madu stepped outside to speak with them. Isaac stayed with her. He watched her quietly, then said, Do you know who you really saved? Veronica gave a faint smile. I'm beginning to understand. Isaac lowered his voice. Chief Madu isn't just rich. He's powerful, connected. People fight to even shake his hand. And you? He shook his head in disbelief. You dragged him out of the bush with your bare hands. Veronica looked away. I didn't do it for money. I did it because that was right. Isaac nodded slowly. And that's exactly why it matters. Soon, Chief Madu returned, now dressed in clean clothes, simple but sharp. He looked like the man from the headlines again. He turned to Veronica. Get ready. Tomorrow, we leave the hospital. You're coming with me. Her eyes widened. Sir, I can't. I don't even know. Shoo, he said, raising a hand. Gently. Just say yes. Tears welled up in her eyes. Yes, she whispered. That night, she couldn't sleep. But for the first time in a long time, it wasn't fear that kept her awake. It was hope. The next morning, Veronica was discharged. She wore a simple floral gown Isaac had bought from a boutique the night before. New slippers. Her hair was tied in a rough bun. She still looked like a girl recovering from war, but there was light in her eyes now. A soft flame. A beginning to the hospital entrance. Chief Madu stood waiting. His personal security team flanked. A sleek black Range Rover. When Veronica stepped outside, he opened the car door himself. Let's go home, he said. Home? She echoed. She didn't understand. Not until they arrived. The car pulled up to a sprawling white mansion in Enugu, hidden behind marble walls, guarded gates, and whispering fountains that looked like something from a dream. She stepped out clutching a small nylon bag. Inside it were her only possessions, 2 old wrappers. That's all she owned in the world. A maid dressed in crisp uniform opened the glass door and bowed slightly. Welcome, sir. Welcome, madam. Madam. The word hit her chest like thunder. Inside was another world entirely. Crystal chandeliers danced above her. Italian tiles shimmered beneath her feet. Classical music floated in the air like perfume. Art lined the walls. The whole place breathed elegance and peace. This is your house? She asked, her voice shaking. Yes, Chief Madu said with a soft smile. And it's your home now, too. Veronica stepped back, shaking her head. No, sir. I can't live here. I'm not. You saved my life. That's not something I can repay with words. But I don't belong here. No buts, he said, firmly but gently. You will rest here. You will be safe here. You will eat. You will sleep in peace. That's the least you deserve. Her throat tightened. Her eyes burned. She had never been in a house like this. But now, it was her home. I never imagined I'd be in a room with a ceiling fan that actually worked, let alone one with air conditioning and imported art. Hanging on the walls, a maid led me upstairs into a guest room. But it wasn't just a room. It was bigger than our entire family house. A king-size bed with silk sheets, a bathroom that smelled like roses, and soaps and lotions I couldn't even pronounce. There was even hot water. I stood in the middle, unsure if I should sit or just keep standing there. Ma, the maid said softly, you can shower. I'll bring your food. I nodded. Inside the bathroom, I looked at myself in the mirror. My face was thin. My eyes looked tired. But I smiled. Really smiled. For the first time in forever, I meant it. After the shower, I was given a soft gown and called downstairs. The dining room was something out of a dream. White walls, polished silverware, and plates arranged like art. 3 courses, chicken and creamy sauce, basmati rice, fresh orange juice that I didn't even know which fork to use. But nobody laughed. Nobody judged. That afternoon, Chief Madu invited me out into the garden. The air was calm. Birds chirped in the fruit trees. A marble table sat in the center under the shade of mango branches. I took my seat carefully. He sat across from me. His voice was gentle, almost fatherly. "Tell me about yourself," he said that I hesitated. "There's not much to tell." "Try me," he said. I told him about my father, a retired schoolteacher, now sick and bedridden. My mother, working herself half to death just to keep us alive. And how I became a bricklayer to help keep food on the table. Then, I told him about Madam P. She said she had a job for me, I said. But when I refused to sleep with the man she brought, she threw me out like trash. His eyes darkened. "That woman, she'll answer for that." "I don't care about her anymore," I said. "I just want to help my parents." We couldn't even afford a blood test, let alone treatment. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that stopped my heart. "What if I told you I could fly your father abroad for treatment?" I blinked. "Sir, I'll handle everything. A private hospital, full care. And your mother can go too." My hand flew to my mouth. The tears came before I could stop them. "But what?" I asked. "Why are you doing all this for me?" He looked me right in the eyes. "Because when I was nothing, when I didn't even have a name, you gave me something no one else did. Humanity." He stood and walked away for a moment, then returned holding a small black suitcase. He placed it in front of me gently. I opened it. My chest clenched. Cash. Stacks of US dollars. 200,000. I stumbled backward. I can't take this." "You can," he said. "And you will. Use it to build a future. Not just for you, for your family, for every girl who thinks dignity can't survive poverty." I collapsed into the chair, shaking. I couldn't speak. The tears wouldn't stop, but this time they weren't from pain. They were from release. The sun filtered through the mango leaves like a golden blessing. Birds kept singing. I didn't even hear them. I just stared at that open suitcase, like it was a dream. Chief Madu didn't interrupt. He just let me cry. He knew what that moment meant. He had lived it once himself, long ago, when someone gave him his first chance. When I finally looked up, I whispered, "Sir, you don't know what this means to me." He leaned back in his chair. "I might not," he said, "but I do know what you mean to me. You saved my life when you didn't even know who I was. And you didn't ask for anything in return." I shook my head. "I just didn't want you to die. I didn't even know you were rich." He chuckled. "Exactly." Then he said, "Tomorrow morning, my private jet will be ready. Your parents are flying to India for full medical care. You're going with them. Everything is arranged." My hand covered my mouth again. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Your father deserves to live. Your mother deserves rest. And you," he paused, "you gave me a second chance at life, Veronica. Now I'm giving you one." I stood up slowly, walked around the table, and dropped to my knees before him. He gently lifted me back up. "No, don't kneel to me," he said. "You stand tall. You survived what would have broken most people. You're stronger than anyone." "I know." I looked into his eyes. "Thank you. Thank you, sir." But he wasn't done yet. He placed another envelope on the table. "Property papers. A 3-bedroom bungalow. Yours. Title in your name." I froze. "Sir, this is too much. Not for a girl who gave blood on an empty stomach," he said. "For a man she didn't even know." There was a long silence. The peaceful kind. The kind where the world stands still just long enough to heal something inside you. I stepped back, looked up at the sky. The clouds drifted slowly overhead. Just days ago, I was hawking sachets of water, dodging area boys, sleeping under a bridge, and now, here I was in a garden, in a billionaire's home, holding the keys to a whole new life. I whispered, "Papa, You're going to get help. Real help. And the tears came again. But not the old kind. These were good tears. Tears of hope, of healing, of God. Chief Madu looked at me with the quiet pride of a father. This isn't charity, Veronica. This is harvest. You planted kindness, and now you're reaping destiny. The breeze danced through the trees, and I took a deep breath. Thank you, God, I whispered, for this miracle. And just like that, the story I once thought was built only on struggle, betrayal, and survival, it finally turned its last page and became redemption. And no matter how dark the night, dignity and kindness are never wasted. Even when the world doesn't notice, the universe remembers. One selfless act can open doors even money cannot. Enjoyed Veronica's journey? Tell us in the comments. What lesson touched your heart the most? New stories drop every few days, so hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you'll be first to hear what's next. If this story moved you, like, share, and spread the message, because you never know, maybe someone else out there needs this kind of miracle too. Thank you for watching. Stay inspired. God bless you.